Rivers always carry a certain amount of dissolved solids, among them notably salt ions. The amount of total dissolved solids, or TDS, varies widely, from less than 100 parts per million for some headwater streams in humid regions to greater than 1,500 parts per million for rivers in arid regions, heavily laden with salts. For instance, the salinity of the Colorado River at Imperial Dam, California, is about 800 parts per million. Dissolved solids in streams and rivers originate in the parent rocks. Weathering and bioturbation are the processes by which the solids are released from the rocks and soils, leaving the lithosphere and entering the hydrosphere. Several types of dissolved salt cations, positive, and anions, negative, enter the hydrosphere through runoff. The salt cations are four: 1. Sodium, 2. Calcium, 3. Potassium, and 4. Magnesium. Typical salt anions are 1. Chloride, 2. Carbonate, and 3. Sulfate. Potassium and magnesium are mostly used by the biosphere, while sodium and calcium are not used by the biosphere in the amounts in which they are present. Potassium and magnesium are the good salts, retained by the biosphere. Sodium and calcium are the bad salts, wasted by the biosphere. Evaporation and evapotranspiration leave the waste salts behind, concentrating them in the remaining water bodies. The amount of total dissolved solids, TDS, in a stream or river increases in the downstream direction. Headwater streams have a smaller concentration of dissolved solids than lowland rivers. Under pristine conditions, the increase in TDS in the downstream direction is a natural characteristic of streams and rivers. Irrigation, a consumptive use of water, produces additional evapotranspiration, increasing the concentration of total dissolved solids in runoff waters. Every iota of water used consumptively to grow crops leaves the salts behind, creating a problem of disposal. Storage reservoirs produce additional evaporation, increasing the concentration of total dissolved solids in the water body and, therefore, in the hydrosphere. Arid regions evaporate water at rates much higher than humid regions. Thus, arid regions concentrate salts faster than humid regions. Rivers of developed basins have higher concentrations of TDS than rivers of pristine basins. The additional salts to be mobilized increase the TDS concentration, unless they are routed to and collected in evaporation ponds. Evaporation ponds or basins take the extra salts away from the runoff, hydrosphere, and deposit them in the soils, lithosphere. An evaporation pond eliminates regional surface water at the cost of increasing local soil and land salinity. An aquifer lying below an evaporation basin can become contaminated with salts percolating through the vadose zone, from land surface to groundwater table. A properly designed liner may reduce this effect, but liners have a finite life. Aquifers flow from zones of higher potential energy to zones of lower potential energy, in a direction that resembles and/or closely parallels the land surface. The great majority of groundwater eventually makes it to the surface waters through baseflow. On a global basis, only a very small fraction of groundwater, less than 2%, flows directly into the ocean through deep percolation, avoiding the surface waters altogether. The more intensely a river basin is developed for irrigation, the greater the quantity of salts that need to be handled or disposed of, either through salt-laden runoff and streamflow, a regional impact, or by storage in evaporation ponds, a local impact. The choice is either 1. To pollute the river, or 2. To first pollute the land and then eventually, through baseflow, the river. A third choice, to collect the salt and cart it to the ocean, is usually prohibitively expensive.